Major Marquez had a bright idea. So bright, you got to wonder why nobody never thought about it before. Tell John Ruth your bright idea.
Well, the whole damn place was just made out of kindling. So I burnt it down.
Hello, and welcome to this video on the King James Bible Code and Biblical Numerics. In this video, I want to discuss two numerical Easter eggs found in the Quentin Tarantino movie, The Hateful Eight. If you look at this ad, you'll see it's the 8th film by Quentin Tarantino, and it premiered January 8th, that would be in 2015, but the 8th day of the year. Also, by Easter egg, I mean like a hidden message in a film or video game. Now, The Hateful Eight is a spin-off on a earlier film that came out, I believe, in the 60s, The Magnificent Seven. These numbers appear together in the book of Revelation. Let's look at Revelation 17, verse 11. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth, and is of the seven, and goeth into perdition. Using the simple English numerical cipher, we see the word beast equals 47. And the phrase the eighth occurs exactly 37 times in the King James Bible. And the phrase the seven occurs 47 times in the New Testament of the King James Bible. I am using the King James Pure Bible Search software. You could download that for free at purebiblesearch.com. So without further ado, let's look at the first Easter egg found in the movie The Hateful Eight.
There was a rookie regiment spending the overnight in the camp. 47 men, burnt to a crisp.
Let me add some more context to the conversation going on in the stagecoach. Major Marquez, played by Samuel Jackson, escaped from a prisoner of war camp. By starting it on fire, 47 rebel soldiers died in the process. And I want to talk about the word fire in the Bible. Let's go to Leviticus 9, verse 24. And there came a fire out from before the Lord, and consumed upon the altar the burnt offering and the fat, which when all the people saw, they shouted and fell on their faces. The phrase a fire occurs 47 times in the King James Bible. The phrase the burnt offering equals 188, that's 47 times 4, and fell on, the phrase occurs 37 times in the King James Bible. Let's look at another verse before I show you the next Easter egg in the movie. Matthew 24:37. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. If we apply the reverse English cipher to the name Noe, as we find Noah's name in the Gospels of the King James Bible, you see that it equals 47. Also, the phrase the days occurs in 37 verses of the New Testament. I'll discuss the significance of these two numbers after the next Easter egg.
When Major Marquez burned 47 men alive. See, once they started pulling out all them burnt bodies at Wellenbeck, seems not all them boys were Revs. Well, you burned up some of your own boys, didn't you, Major? How many burnt prisoners they end up finding? Wasn't the final Yankee death count something like 37?
In Revelation chapter 13, verse 5, we're told that the beast is given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. James chapter 3, verse 6 says, And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity, so is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire of hell. This is the 47th mention of the phrase a fire in the Bible, 47th and last mention, and notice hell equals 37. The number 37 is significant because it divides into 666 18 times. 666 is 37 times 18. The number 37 is a key number in understanding 666, in my opinion. And it is also connected with end time events, like the number 47. So you find them in the signs that we are seeing in these last days. An example would be Charlie Kirk tossing 47 hats out to the crowd shortly before somebody fired a shot. Fire came out the barrel of that weapon, and a projectile killed Charlie Kirk. This assassination took place in the 37th week of the year, like September 11th, another tragedy, terrorist attack where we had buildings on fire. And one of the buildings, the third building to collapse, was World Trade Center 7, which had exactly 47 stories. So the numerical Easter eggs in the movie The Hateful Eight happen to be the same numbers that are occurring in the signs of the end of the world. Look at 2 Peter 3:7. But the heavens and the earth, which are now, by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. The word kept occurs 47 times in the New Testament, and the word fire occurs in exactly 47 books of the King James Bible, with the book of Revelation being the 47th book. In chapter 2, verse 5 of the same book of Peter, it says, "And spared not the old world, but saved Noah, the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly." The word flood or floods occurs in 47 verses of the Old Testament of the King James Bible. Also notice that Noah is described as being the eighth person, which is interesting, that phrase, 37 times in your King James Bible. Back to chapter 3, it says, "For this they willingly are ignorant of that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water." Word of God, case sensitive, exactly as it occurs in this verse, 47 verses of the King James Bible. 47 men translated the King James Bible. The phrase "were of" and the word "standing" both occur in 47 chapters of the King James Bible. We have the word "old," 47 verses of the New Testament, and "water" occurs 396 times in the King James Bible, which is 66 times 6. Verse 6, "Whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished." In Hebrews 11:7 it says, "By faith Noah, being warned of God of things not seen, as yet moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by which he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness which is by faith." The phrase "by faith" 37 times in the King James Bible, and the name Noah, exactly as it appears in this verse, 47 times in the King James Bible, if you remove the 4 anti-mentions. There is a Noah, the daughter of Zelophehad, occurs 3 times in the book of Numbers, I believe in Numbers 26, 27, and 36, and once in the book of Joshua chapter 17. So once you remove the 4 anti-mentions, this name occurs 47 times in the King James Bible. Now if we go to Genesis 6, we see a verse that has 2666 patterns in it, and that's Genesis 6:22, the last verse of chapter 6. There are 22 chapters in the book of Revelation, so we have Genesis 6:22. "Thus Noah did according to all that God commanded him, so did he." The word "thus," 666 verses of the Old Testament. The word "according," this is the first mention, by the way, 666 times in the Old Testament of the King James Bible. Well, what does this have to do with the number of the beast, you might ask? Well, chapter 7 begins with God telling them, "Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and the beasts that are not clean by 2, the male and his female." Therefore, Noah actually counts beasts in the process of loading them onto the ark. After that, in Genesis 7:4, it says, "For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth." So we have a 47 pattern here, because in 7 days he's going to cause it to rain 40 days and 40 nights. Therefore, from this announcement to the end of the rains is 47 days. The word "off" occurs 447 times in the Old Testament. Now look at verse 11. This is the first time Noah's possessive is mentioned in the Bible. "In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened." The 2nd month, the 17th day, that's the 47th day of the 600th year of Noah's life. In verse 13 it says, "In the selfsame day entered Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and 3 wives of his sons with them, into the ark." Now this is the second mention of Noah's possessive. And the sons occurs 37 books of the King James Bible. The word "wife," like water, occurs 396 times in the King James Bible, which is 66 times 6. And the phrase "into the" occurs in 666 verses of the Old Testament. Verse 17, "And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lift up above the earth." The word "earth" occurs 987 times in the King James Bible, which is 47 times 21. We have the word "lift" equals 47, and the word "up" equals 37. This is a picture of the rapture. The word above occurs 47 times in the New Testament of the King James Bible. And as earlier mentioned, flood or floods, 47 verses of the Old Testament. Jesus mentions both Noah and Lot in the context of the end days. And we know the end days is going to be with fire, not water. Look at Genesis 19, pick it up in verse 23. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. The word Sodom occurs in 47 verses of the King James Bible. We see here the name Lot equals 47. Now I want to discuss the sun briefly. There's a 47-degree relationship between the earth and the sun. So the number 47 is found in the creation, and you can calculate it by adding the total degrees between the tropics of Cancer and the tropics of Capricorn, which would be the high point of the sun in the summer would be the Tropic of Cancer, and the Tropic of Capricorn for us in the northern hemisphere would represent the low point of the sun in winter. 47 degrees separates them. This sun-earth relationship in 47 is what Freemasons are talking about in the 47th problem of Euclid. The sun is the most dominant object in the heavens, so we have, in the Greek mythology, it would be Uranus, the heavens, represented by the male. The female would be the earth, Gaia, and the union of the two produced the divine offspring, or the Titans. Speaking of the sun, let's look at Revelation chapter 16, verse 8. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. Angel, 37 chapters of the New Testament. The sun occurs 28 times in the New Testament, which is 4 times 7. We have the phrase was given, 37 verses of the King James Bible, and the words power and fire both occur in 47 books of the King James Bible, Revelation being that 47th book. The word with, 1,369 times in the New Testament, which is 37 squared. Hebrews 12:29, for our God is a consuming fire. The phrase for our occurs in 47 chapters of the King James Bible. Look at Revelation 1:14. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. The word wool occurs 14 times in the King James Bible. Notice this is Revelation 1:14. It was on the 14th day of the first month that the Passover lamb was killed. And look here, Jesus' hair is white like wool. Why? Because he's the Lamb of God. Let's look at Revelation 21, pick it up in verse 8. But the fearful and the unbelieving, and the abominable, and murderers, and whoremongers, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. And there came unto me one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials full of the 7 last plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come hither, I will show thee the bride with the Lamb's wife. Now I want to show you a really neat 47 pattern in the Bible that I believe is beyond coincidence. Notice the word lambs possessive equals 47. Now consider after we're given the number 666 in the Bible in Revelation 13:18, the next verse, Revelation 14:1, begins, And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion. Now let's look at Genesis 21 and verse 28. And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves, and Abimelech said unto Abraham, What mean these 7 ewe lambs which thou hast set by themselves? The word flock equals 47, as does the word lambs, plural. Now in Genesis 21, Abraham and Abimelech enter into a covenant. They both swear. And the word swear occurs 47 times in the Old Testament of the King James Bible. So the Antichrist is going to enter into a covenant with many. And I believe that covenant is going to invoke the name Abraham. But that's not the main reason I came to Genesis 21. I wanted to talk about the ewe lambs, or female lambs, because the name Rachel means ewe lamb. Look at Genesis 35:16. And they journeyed from Bethel, and there was but a little way to come to Ephrath, and Rachel travailed, and she had hard to labor. And it came to pass, when she was in hard labor, that the midwife said unto her, Fear not, thou shalt have this son also. The word Rachel equals 47. And remember, the name means ewe lamb. The word travailed, or all forms of the word travail, 47 times in the King James Bible. All forms of the word labor, 141 times in the King James Bible, which is 47 times 3. Verse 18, And it came to pass, as her soul was in departing, for she died, that she called his name Benoni, but his father called him Benjamin, and Rachel died and was buried in the way to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. And the name Benoni means son of my sorrow, and in the Hebrew ordinal equals 47. Like the name Jacob there to the right, they both equal 47. And Jacob then names him Benjamin, which means son of my right hand. But all this happens in the spot, the location where Jesus would be born, in Bethlehem. And in the New Testament we read, in Ramah there was a voice heard, lamentation and weeping and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, and would not be comforted, because they are not. Speaking of lamentations, let's go to chapter 2, verse 3. He hath cut off in his fierce anger all the horn of Israel. He hath drawn back his right hand from before the enemy, and he burned against Jacob like a flaming fire which devoureth round about. The word fierce, 37 times in the Old Testament. The word Israel, 47 books of the King James Bible, just like the word fire. Let's look at Psalm 78, verse 21. Therefore the Lord heard this and was wroth, so a fire was kindled against Jacob, and anger also came up against Israel. Notice how divisive Israel is to U.S. politics. You have a civil war going on right now on the political right. You have the Tucker Carlson wing and the Ted Cruz or Mark Levin wing kind of going at it. And even in the left, you had the progressives who are pro-Palestinian at odds with the establishment Democrats who tend to be more pro-Israel. Look at Obadiah 1 verse 18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it. The name Esau occurs 88 times in the King James Bible. I believe Esau is a type of the Antichrist. His name means rough. Look at Genesis 25:30. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with the same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. Now the name Edom means red, and the word red occurs 47 times in the Old Testament in 37 chapters. Prophetically, I believe Edom represents all the nations. God's not happy with any of the nations. In fact, Isaiah 34 says, come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people, let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations. God isn't happy with Israel, the U.S., Iran, Russia, any of the nations. So the name Edom, like the name Adam, come from the same root word connected with red. Red is a color connected with sin. It's also a color connected with war. But the main point of this video was to highlight the numbers 37 and 47 because they show up repeatedly and they are showing up in the signs. I'll be making videos about that as these signs occur. So hit that like button if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel. God bless and bye for now.